Hey, so I thought I should talk about something that's very important to me, and that's the topic of beauty and especially visual beauty and aesthetics. Um, Sorry about that sound. I'll just quiet it now. Anyway, as I was just saying, visual beauty. Yeah. Has anyone else ever noticed that the world is really beautiful, but also ridiculously ugly at times? Um, in particular, I'm talking about the way in which modern societies have destroyed beauty. I mean, sure, there's brutalist style, different styles of architecture express different sides of humanity. So the point is not to completely condemn, certain aspects of humanity. But also at the same time, one can't deny that certain aspects of humanity are more desirable than the others. I'm not talking about the brutalist um, aesthetics. They are certainly not visually appealing to me. This actually reminds me of Sir Roger Scruton and his famous not YouTube, but his famous documentary, which is now on YouTube. I don't think it's supposed to be on YouTube, but for some reason it is on YouTube. I think the documentary is called On Beauty, where he goes around and investigates the idea of beauty, from antiquity and now the situation in London. He talks to artists and he, investigates the, uh, the Duchamp affair. Michel Duchamp, the guy who did the toilet bowl, and called it art. And then there's the other guy who did a can of shit. So this discussion always reminds me of that, and that investigation is a really interesting one. I have a lot of respect for Roger Scruton, of course, and I was saddened when he passed away a few years ago. Might have been 2 years ago at this point, or maybe last year, but I've always been fascinated by these discussions, but more importantly, I've been fascinated by what's happening to the world visually. When I go outside, I see all sorts of things. I see pavement, I see escalators, I see sidewalks, traffic lights. I hear a lot of sound. I live in downtown Silver Spring, and it's very noisy. It's not as noisy as New York City. Thank God I'm not in New York City. I wouldn't know what to do with myself. If I was there, I would really, really lose it at that point. I mean, I've already sort of lost it, but, because the whole thing of America experimenting with modernity is a nightmare, in my opinion, but New York City is something else entirely. I mean, that place is a nightmare, in my opinion. It's a giant pile of garbage. It's really unfortunate that some of the greatest piece of art is collected there because, quote, not quote, but money, Wall Street, billionaires who, who like to spend a lot of money showing other billionaires how much money they have, that they can outspend them, in these auction houses and whatever. Anyway, downtown Silver Spring, I walk outside and I mean, I see all sorts of things. It's supposed to be one of the best places in the DC or DMV area, and it's unbelievably disgusting. I don't think they really thought about who, the city planners and, the people who designed the roads and streets and all of that. They really didn't think creatively. They, sure, I mean, might get some rebuttal on this. I will get some rebuttal on this. But it's unbelievably disgusting. I mean, this is the problem. Like, it's not just one thing. It's like the whole thing. Like, there are so many things causing things to be disgusting and unappealing. Just, for example, think about the way in which mass consumption is filling up the earth, period. Just filling up the earth. Just garbage. Just nonsense garbage. It's just garbage. There's nothing else. There's just garbage. It's just piling on garbage so that somebody could trade pieces of paper called dollars, and then you give them a box, a bag filled with stuff. In most cases, they don't need it. People don't need it. They still get it. This is the problem, in America. It's like the world where you have too much, more than you need. And it's just piling on. I mean, look at self-storage companies. What are they? Just empty rooms and warehouses where people store their garbage, things that they don't need, things that they don't want, but that they've been told that they must have, because it might fill a hole in their soul or something like that. Anyway, the point of all of this is to say that America is addicted in so many ways. It's the place where, you have everybody talking about addiction. It's like, oh my God, it's such a big problem. It's such a big problem. Well, yeah, but you've also created the perfect conditions, for there to be addicts. I mean, every corner you turn to is an opportunity to find an addiction. Not necessarily drugs. I'm not talking about that. That's the most obvious one, but and America is really, really having a tough time dealing with that, obviously. Millions of people are dying every year. But I'm talking about the retail stores that are filled with garbage, nonsense garbage. You have these places where money is exchanged for things, crappy things, mass-produced things. And in many cases, these things are not even made by hands. In many cases, most of the time, it's just something that's there. It's anyway, I mean, this whole thing started with the idea of beauty and talking about beauty and visual beauty and aesthetics. Now it's turned into the whole critique of societal critique of capitalism and the whole thing.